Wally. Wally.
I get intrusive thoughts like burning my hair off, like hurting somebody I love, like does it ever really stop? When there's control I lose it, incredibly impulsive.
What it's really like being polyamorous. What it's really like being polyamorous. Part 2.
My eldest daughter's here. Hey Mom, this is my boyfriend Michael. How handsome you are. And who might this be? My girlfriend Alex. Your... what? I told you I was in a polyamorous relationship. And I looked it up on Wikipedia. But I thought it was a practical joke. We believe it's possible to love more than one person. Don't you get jealous? Jealousy can sometimes come up, but we talk about our feelings. Isn't it cheating? We have rules for our relationship and open, honest communication. What's wrong with marrying one person forever? Nothing. But monogamy isn't for everyone, and it's not the only relationship style. I wonder if polyamory would work for me.
If you're feeling like you need a little bit of company, you met me at the perfect time. You want me? No. 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 You want me? I want you, baby.
Girl, I love it when we do it, turn you on.
What's the difference between bisexuality and pansexuality? And at the end, why this is so controversial. First off, bi does not mean you like two genders, and pan does not mean you like all genders. The Bisexual Manifesto, which is the most critical piece of bi history, says that being bi means liking genders the same and different from one's own. That does not mean just two. So many bi people are attracted to all genders, and many are not, but gender typically does matter to a bi person. And pansexuality is attraction regardless of someone's gender, so gender doesn't matter at all. It's about their personality. Pan personality. So what's so controversial? First, many bi people think all pans are technically bi. Since being bi means liking all genders the same and different from one's own, all pan people fall into that category technically, and bi people feel that pansexuality may contribute to bi erasure. And many pans disagree, saying they're more comfortable using the word pan. It's a younger community, a newer term, and it highlights the fact that gender is irrelevant from who they're attracted to.
For the first time in my life, I'm actually being hit on by women, and it's all thanks to TikTok, and I just never knew what that felt like. Like when guys are like, oh, you're so pretty, I would kiss you. I'm like, and then girls on here say it, and I'm like, really? You mean that? That means so much to me. So much just from a man. I love my gays.
All right, let's talk about omnisexual. Unfortunately, you're going to hear a lot of people say something along the lines of, omnisexual is like an internet orientation. It's not even real. 1, you're wrong. And 2, shut up. Omnisexual came about around the same time that pansexuality did, because people wanted a word to express how they feel, and that's valid. When we talk about the main differences between pansexuality and omnisexuality, we typically say one has preference and one doesn't, but that can be kind of confusing. What do you mean pansexuals don't have preference? They just like everybody? No, that's not quite it. Pansexual people can still have a type or a preference. They're not just out here loving every single person, but their level of attraction or their feelings of attraction are more or less the same across all genders. But omnisexual can be used to explain how your attractions to different genders is different. And it doesn't necessarily have to be more or less, just different. I know it's a bit confusing, so feel free to ask follow-up questions.
Creative Ways to Come Out, Part 11, Omnisexual Edition.
Dad, will you tell me about God's superpowers again? Where to start? I mean, he's everywhere and he can do anything and he knows everything. Wow, omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Sounds like a real triple threat. Hey, speaking of omnis,
I don't want to have sex, ever, with anyone. I think I might be broken. I have no connection to it.
Do you know what asexuality is? It's when someone has no sexual attraction to any sex or gender. Sex just doesn't do it for some people.
But I still want to fall in love.
Well, some asexual people still want romantic relationships, but they don't want the sex bit. And others don't want either. You know, sexuality is fluid. Sex doesn't make us whole. And so, how could you ever be broken?
This is the demi-romantic flag. It's an orientation on the aromantic spectrum that describes someone who does not experience romantic attraction until they formed a close emotional bond with a person. This is the romantic spectrum equivalent of the label demisexual. The black triangle represents the spectrum of sexuality. The white stripe represents platonic and aesthetic attraction, as well as queer platonic relationships. The green stripe represents the aromantic spectrum, and the gray stripe represents being gray aromantic and or demi-romantic.
I was just... A cold freezing night. Holy!
My work gave me paint for Pride, let's try it. Had to wet it. Exciting. That was hard to put on. I think I got carried away.
We even got a secret handshake, and she loves the music that my band makes. I know I'm young, but if I had to choose her or the sun, I'd be one nocturnal son of a gun.
Take a look at my girlfriend. She's the only one I got. Not much of a girlfriend. I never seem to get a lot.
Cold feelings should not be rebuffed. Never rebuffed and never rebuffed the local feeling. No, my friend! It's tough to be a god, but if you get the people's nod, count your blessings.
Did I say any pronoun? I meant every pronoun. Give it here. Even yours, yes. Come on, rub me that shit. I'm green, bitch. Every pronoun. Give it to me here, right now.
I'm Janie, I'm polyamorous, and this is my family. This is Maggie and Cody, and they met in February of 2016. I met them 9 months later, and we started casually dating. They had adopted Toulouse before I met them, and then about a year into our relationship, they adopted Wash. That was around the same time that we started getting more serious. Their families welcomed me, and I started spending holidays with them too. And eventually I moved in with them. We saw this cutie at the Cat Cafe in Denver, and somewhat accidentally adopted her. We decided to move together. Initially, we were going to go to Prague, but then a pandemic happened, so we ended up in Chattanooga, Tennessee instead. We bought this house together, and we're currently working on fixing it up. And this is our family now. We've now been together for about 4.5 years. We love each other a lot, and I couldn't imagine my life any other way. Let me know if you have any questions.
Welcome. Voice activation required.
Thor.
Access denied.
Thor, son of Odin.
Access denied.
God of Thunder.
Access denied.
Strongest Avenger.
Access denied.
Strongest Avenger.
Access denied.
Damn you, Stark. Point Break.
Welcome, Point Break.
I'm polysexual, attracted to multiple genders. might be many, but not all. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying that my label is better. It's just what I prefer. I'm polysexual.
I'ma break this bitch, this metal that. So I fucking up, what's next?
Fucking on your bitch, she a whole thought. Yup. And a bitch eat a lot. She fuck me and suck me, she a thought.
Yo, let's set the sex talk. Give it to me good, take the drawers off. He can hit it from the back, take it all off.
Out to play ball so we could ruin them. Mama said that it was okay. Mama said that it was quite alright. I can't.
Hey, wanna listen to some tunes?
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic, Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela,
How do you sound like a guy? Maybe because I am one? Sorry, but your laugh is so nice. You don't have to apologize for that. Thank you. What's your sexuality? I'm actually bi. I'm in love with your mom's kid. How do I tell him? You're very sweet, but I'm 18 and also publicly flirting with another man. Keep that energy for someone else. What did you look like as a girl? Firstly, asking trans people for pictures of what they looked like before can make people very uncomfortable, but I looked like this when I was 5. I was never too feminine.
So let's talk about agosexuality. So agosexuality is an identity on the asexual spectrum. It's one of the micro labels, and it describes people who have a comfort level with sexual things, like they may experience sexual fantasies, or they may be comfortable watching sexual content, reading erotic stories, or watching erotic movies, but they don't want to participate in sexual activity. So an agosexual person might have sexual fantasies, but they won't be part of that fantasy. Or maybe they really enjoy porn, but are not willing to have sex. So for agosexual folks, there's a disconnect between themselves and objects of sexual attraction. That's it. The A spectrum is the coolest spectrum.
McLovin. No, you're not. No one's McLovin.
So a lot of people are misunderstanding demisexuality, so let me try to explain it in a different way. Demisexuals cannot experience sexual attraction unless an emotional bond is formed. Even then, it's not guaranteed. A good way to conceptualize this is that they are asexual until proven demi. By this I mean they navigate the world, they navigate relationships, they navigate friendships, they navigate their life as an asexual person until they meet somebody, develop an emotional bond, however long that takes, and then they have the potential of experiencing sexual attraction to that person. It's got nothing to do with hookup culture, it's got nothing to do with sex. This is also why it differs to grey sexuality, because grey sexuals can experience sexual attraction at varying points in their lives, but demisexuals have to have that emotional bond first. The label demisexuality can really help people navigate relationships and navigate their own feelings. This is your reminder that this language exists because people needed to articulate their experience because it was different from the heteronormative. Demis are valid and valuable.
Pose on me, left and right. Glum, I put them out like a light. Pose on me, left and right. Glum, I put them out.
Caught my attention. I kissed a girl and I liked it. The taste of her cherry chaps.
But I just can't date.
Got ya, bitch.
Today's gender... Today's gender's been canceled. I look too good for a gender today.
More asexual microlabels. So let's talk about cupiosexuals. So cupiosexuals are people who do not experience sexual attraction, but do want and pursue sexual relationships. Now you might be saying, well, that's just sex favorable, but not all the time. Cupiosexual folks can be sex favorable, but they don't have to be. The label describes anyone on the asexual spectrum who does not experience sexual attraction but does pursue sexual relationships with partners. The asexual spectrum is one of the best spectrums.
So you want to know what an omnisexual bee looks like?
Inspired by Pride Flags, Omnisexual Edition. This was the most requested one I saw in the comments, so hi, I didn't know there were so many of y'all. From what y'all have told me, omnisexual is similar to pansexual, but the only difference is gender does play a role because they have a preference sometimes for it. It's like, I like all wine, but I do have preferences for some, and I have different experiences with each. The 2 shades of pink represent different levels of femininity, and blue represents levels of masculinity. I can do liner while I film. Black represents everything in between. Oh my god, this looks so good!
It, she ain't trying it. He keep calling me crying, bitch. Dance how you killed this. I understood the assignment.
Oh, that was funny. Girl, what are your pronouns? Any pronoun. We're good. Girl, you are funny.
I want for Christmas. Yes. So big.
Y'all ain't shit, but I flush. Boy, you wanna eat my dust. Everybody wanna guess my crush. That's some y'all need to discuss. I gave these bitches they flowers, now they can suck 1,000 eggs. I said too much power, now I'm like, motherfucker, bother me. I don't give a fuck about a fake fan. Saying you mad, you proud of me. While your ass is up in arms, don't forget to go down on me. Bitch, have a seat in the ottoman.
Man, this happened 1, 2, 3 times too much.
Wally.
I want to use neo-pronouns. What's that? Neo means new. A pronoun takes the place of a noun. So I could say Lily went to the moon, but instead I'd say she went to the moon. She is the pronoun. And for Barry, you'd say they went to the moon on a rocket ship. What if I used they, their pronouns? Huh? If I was telling you about Jordan, I might say they went to the moon and I followed there. How come you don't use they, them? I want to try different words that suit me better. Ones that aren't associated with gender binaries. Maybe AM. A is happy. I love M. I want to smush air face on mine. Did you make up those words? Language itself is made up and can evolve as people and culture do. Did you know William Shakespeare invented hundreds of words we use today? Wowie zowie!
Like 1,000 times, dated every woman in the atmosphere. I've been to every continent, broken all the hearts in every hemisphere. And if I'm not the type of guy you like to circumvent, just remember not to love.
My name is Madi. I'm an intersex person, educator, and advocate, and this is part 4 in the Countdown to Intersex Awareness Day series. At what age does an intersex person typically discover that they're intersex? While there's no singular intersex experience, there are around 4 times in someone's life that they might actually discover that they are, in fact, intersex. The first is at birth. The large majority of intersex people who discover that they're intersex at birth are those with genital variations, or external genitalia that doesn't neatly fit into either binary sex category. The second time that someone might discover that they're intersex is at puberty. For the large majority of intersex people who are hormonally intersex, puberty is the time that we might discover that things are happening in a way that's not typical or expected for our sex assigned at birth. The next time that an intersex person might discover that they're intersex is in adulthood, specifically when one is trying to have children. Many, though not all, intersex people are infertile, which means that we cannot have kids. If an intersex person was trying to have children and ended up looking into their fertility, they might find out that they're intersex in the process. And finally, the fourth time that someone might discover that they're intersex is also in adulthood, but this time upon obtaining one's medical records. There are a lot of intersex people who actually discover that they're intersex when accessing their childhood medical records that indicate that there was a surgery that was performed or a medical intervention that was pursued in order to treat the symptoms of being intersex. And finally, there are a lot of intersex people who never actually do find out that they're intersex, but I'll leave that for another video.
Wally.